good day, and welcome to Universally Acknowledged.
My name is Catherine.
And I'm Olivia.
And you must allow us to
tell you how ardently we admire and love Jane Austen.
One day we're going to nail that, but today is not that day.
It's never that day. One day. Cool. We're in chapter 4.
Do you remember what happened, Liv?
Wait. Oh, we met Mr Tilney.
We met Mr Tilney!
Yeah, we did.
I've been so excited about Mr Tilney all day. When I was walking to work earlier, I was just spent the whole time thinking about Mr Tilney.
I have to say, Mr Tilney poses a threat to my real gentleman who came round this evening, and I was like, you just... In fact, we had a conversation about dresses.
And did he ask?
I'm really sorry if you ever hear this, by the way.
And did he ask how much it cost for you?
Okay. So, I was talking about my brother's 21st birthday party, which is coming up, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to buy a new dress, and he was like, why? And I was like, because... And it just made me think,
he's not a person who buys his own cravats, is he?
Always buy your own cravat.
Always
It's alright. We'll move past it. It's alright. One day I'll meet my Mr. Tilney. No. This pod is already going downhill.
Liv and I haven't spent much time together today, and we're both quite tired. So, this is going to be a rocky one.
Lots of other people. There are lots of other redeeming features in men. Okay.
If you say so. What worth are they if they don't know how to buy their own cravats?
I'm pretty sure Mr. Darcy doesn't buy his own cravats.
No, he's just a man to do that. You don't have 10,000 a year and buy your own cravats.
Well, you do if you've got any goodness in you.
Oh, is that the mark of goodness?
Yeah.
We should read the chapter.
The fruits of the spirit. Buy your own cravats. Joy, peace, whatever it is, love, self-control, cravat buying. This is not only a rude podcast, but it's a heretical podcast. It's a blasphemous podcast, and I'm really hoping that our vicar never hears it. Actually, I'm hoping he does, because I'd sometimes need a bit of a rebuke. Anyway,
you can accept it.
Can you believe this podcast is already... It's 2 minutes in, and I think we've lost all our listeners.
What, both of us?
Both of them. Oh.
That was an even worse burn on my hand.
Wow, I do listen back to these. I enjoy the remembering the bants.
So I listened to one this afternoon when I was working, and I was like, this is a great time. What? That's so funny. What a good conversation they had about buying cravats.
It's exactly my humour. All the other podcasts are doomed. Now I'm in my own, baby. I make my own. I do my own stunts. I don't need you, Hank and John. Screw you. No, I don't. Not John.
She does need Hank and John. I'm going to tell you that now.
I do. And I also need to read this chapter, which is what I'm...
A smooth segue. Congratulations.
Yeah. That's what they say in podcasting school. But I've clearly been to. You know what they say? They say... They say record it on your phone at 9:30 in the evening.
With your dishwasher going off in the background. And the cats.
Drink your tea and eat your chocolate digestive. Make loads of noise and smooth segues. Right. And you know what's a good segue? Because, we have a lot of... Oh, it's this very short chapter as well.
Okay.
This is a nighttime level chapter.
Great, we love to hear it.
Because you know what we have today? We have exactly what Charlotte has in the first line of this chapter. More than usual eagerness.
Oh, very good.
It's going to be a segue for Catherine. It's going to be a segue for the books, though, isn't it?
Okay,
right.
Read the chapter, my friend.
I'm going. Chapter 4. With more than usual eagerness did Catherine hasten to the pump room the next day, secure within herself of seeing Mr Tilney there before the morning were over, and ready to meet him with a smile. But no smile was demanded. Mr Tilney did not appear.
Dun dun dun!
Every creature in Bath, except himself, was to be seen in the room at different periods of the fashionable hours. Crowds of people were every moment passing in and out, up and down, up the steps and down, people whom nobody cared about and nobody wanted to see, and he only was absent. What a delightful place Bath is, said Mrs. Allen, as they sat down near the great clock after parading the room till they were tired, and how pleasant it would be if we had any acquaintance
here. Yay, Mrs. Allen! She wants a friend, it's relatable.
You've just been out to see your friends. That's what you spent the evening doing, that's why we're so hyper. Right.
Sorry, I'm sorry, everybody, I'm sorry.
This sentiment had been uttered so often in vain that Mrs. Allen had no particular reason to hope it would be followed with more advantage now. But we are told to despair of nothing we would attain, as unwearied diligence our point would gain. And the unwearied diligence with which she had every day wished for the same thing was at length to have its just reward, for hardly had she been seated 10 minutes before a lady of about her own age, who was sitting by her, and had been looking at her attentively for several minutes, addressed her with great complacence.
That's the word.
Complacence. It's got a footnote. I'll discuss in post. In these words, I think, madam, I cannot be mistaken. It is a long time since I had the pleasure of seeing you, but is not your name Allen? This question answered, as it readily was, the stranger had pronounced hers to be Thorpe, and Mrs. Allen immediately recognised the features of a former schoolfellow and intimate, whom she had seen only once since their respective marriages, and that many years ago. Their joy on this meeting was very great, as well it might, since they had been contented to know nothing of each other for the last 15 years. Compliments on good looks now passed, and after observing how time had slipped away since they were last together, how little they had thought of meeting in Bath, and what a pleasure it was to see an old friend, they proceeded to make inquiries and give intelligence as to their families, sisters, and cousins, talking both together, far more ready to give than receive information, and each hearing very little of what the other said. Mrs. Thorpe, however, had one great advantage as a talker over Mrs. Allen in a family of children. And when she expatiated, why am I like this? I know what this word is. Expatiated on the talents of her sons and the beauty of her daughters, when she related their different situations and views, that John was at Oxford, Edward at Merchant Taylor's, and William at sea, and that all of them more beloved and respected in their different station than any other three beings ever were. Mrs. Allen had no similar information to give, no similar triumphs to press on the unwilling and unbelieving ear of her friend, and was forced to sit and appear to listen to all these maternal effusions, consoling herself, however, with the discovery, which her keen eye soon made, that the lace on Mrs. Thorpe's pelisse was not half so handsome as that on her own. Here come my dear girls, cried Mrs. Thorpe, pointing at three smart-looking females, who, arm in arm, were then moving towards her. My dear Mrs. Allen, I long to introduce them. They will be so delighted to see you. The tallest is Isabella, my eldest. Is she not a fine young woman? The others are very much admired too, but I believe Isabella is the handsomest. The Miss Thorpes were introduced, and Miss Morland, who had been for a short time forgotten, was introduced likewise. The name seemed to strike them all, and after speaking to her with great civility, the eldest young lady observed aloud to the rest, How excessively like her brother Miss Morland is! The very picture of him, indeed, cried the mother, and I should have known her anywhere, for his sister was repeated by them all 2 or 3 times over. For a moment, Catherine was surprised, but Mrs. Thorpe and her daughters had scarcely begun the history of their acquaintance with Mr. James Morland before she remembered that her eldest brother had lately formed an intimacy with a young man of his own college, of the name of Thorpe, and that he had spent the last week of the Christmas vacation with his family near London. The whole being explained, many obliging things were said by the Miss Thorpes of their wish of being better acquainted with her, of being considered as already friends through the friendship of their brothers, and see, is that etc. Etc. I've only had these books read to me, whether by you or by
etc. Because etc.
I see.
Yeah,
I'm just dense.
That's okay.
Which Catherine heard with pleasure and answered with all the pretty expressions she could command. And, as the first proof of amity, she was soon invited to accept an arm of the eldest Miss Thorpe and take a turn with her about the room.
Yay!
Catherine was delighted with this extension of her Bath acquaintance, and almost forgot Mr. Tilney while she talked to Miss Thorpe. Friendship is certainly the finest balm for the pangs of disappointed love. Oh, Jane. Their conversation turned upon those subjects, of which the free discussion has generally much to do in perfecting a sudden intimacy between two ladies, such as dress, balls, flirtations, and quizzes. Miss Thorpe, however, being 4 years older than Miss Morland, and at least 4 years better informed, had a very decided advantage in discussing such points. She could compare the balls of Bath with those of Tunbridge, its fashions with the fashions of London, could rectify the opinions of her new friend in many articles of tasteful attire, could discover a flirtation between any gentleman and a lady who only smiled on each other, and point out a quiz through the thickness of the crowd. These powers received due admiration from Catherine, to whom they were entirely new, and the respect which they naturally inspired might have been too great for familiarity, had not the easy gaiety of Miss Thorpe's manners, and her frequent expressions of delight on this acquaintance with her softened down every feeling of awe and left nothing but tender affection. Their increasing attachment was not to be satisfied with half a dozen turns in the pump room, but required, when they all quitted it together, that Miss Thorpe should accompany Miss Morland to the very door of Mr. Allen's house, and that they should there part with most affectionate and lengthened shake of hands, after learning, to their mutual relief, that they should see each other across the theatre at night, and say their prayers in the same chapel the next morning. Catherine then ran directly upstairs and watched Miss Thorpe's progress down the street from the drawing-room window, admired the graceful spirit of her walk, the fashionable air of her figure and dress, and felt grateful, as well she might, for the chance which had procured her such a friend. Mrs. Thorpe was a widow, and not a very rich one. She was a good-humoured, well-meaning woman, and a very indulgent mother. Her eldest daughter had great personal beauty, and the younger ones, by pretending to be as handsome as their sister, imitating her air, and dressing in the same style, did very well. This brief account of the family is intended to supersede the necessity of a long and minute detail from Mrs. Thorpe herself, or of her past adventures and sufferings, which might otherwise be expected to occupy the 3 or 4 following chapters, in which the worthlessness of lords and attorneys might be set forth, and conversations which had passed 20 years before be minutely repeated. So cutting.
We love you, Jane, for your, harsh rebuke on novels. We've got new friends! We've got an acquaintance in Bath!
This is very exciting.
So we've got Mrs. Thorpe. She's got 3 daughters and 3 sons. You said you were going to read us some footnotes.
I want to tell you about complacence. It doesn't mean what it means, like complacency.
Oh.
It's a word that has fallen into disuse and for which there is no modern equivalent. It is perhaps best glossed as the conscious desire of making oneself agreeable to someone else.
Oh, I rate it. Let's bring it back.
Yeah,
That's a good word.
Yeah, I like that.
I want to make myself agreeable to other people.
Complacence. Yeah.
I'm going to complacence you. That's my...
Sure.
I meant, my desire to make you agreeable to other people.
Oh! Did you think on to this point I was not? Have people been saying how uncomplacency I am?
Thanks for using unto this point. I feel like that was in the vibe.
It was in the vibe.
Yeah.
I can't believe I didn't know that etc. was and C.
Yeah, an ampersand and then a C.
I've read loads of old books. And I just got editions that don't care about me.
Yeah.
It's like show, S-H-E-W. I've not got
Shoo!
Shoo! But yes, this is very exciting. New friends.
New friends. Isabella Thorpe.
Isabella Thorpe. Right, I'm going to keep that in my head.
Is our key character here.
I really enjoyed the conversation between Mrs. Allen and Mrs. Thorpe where they just didn't listen to each other.
It was relatable. It was
so relatable.
Every small talk you've ever been to, at a wedding or something.
Oh, yeah, how are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like how I imagine my mother talks to, her friends when she's like, oh, and this person says that this person's got engaged to this person, and it just...
Yeah,
it's
you're,
a lot.
not listening, but you're like, let me tell you my news!
Yeah.
But then, I was feeling sorry for Mrs. Allen, and I suppose, this is even more so of a thing in Jane Austen times. Mrs. Allen not having kids.
Yeah.
And, not being able to partake in that whole conversation. So at least her lace was better than Mrs. Thorpe's. Heyo!
Oh. So she's probably a lot older than I'd imagined. If her school fellow...
They've not seen each other for 15 years.
They've been married
Yeah.
for more than 15 years then.
Yeah.
So she's probably infertile.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Or he, obviously.
Hence she's essentially adopted Catherine.
The man can be the problem too.
Quite right.
Let's make sure we know that.
The Allens.
The
cannot
Allens.
produce offspring.
Cannot produce, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. It's quite a big deal because you couldn't even really adopt.
You can't adopt, who do you leave?
You can't have a surrogate, you can't...
Yeah,
all that modern-y
and the Allens are the people who own the majority of the village where the Morlands are from.
Yeah. Where are they going to put all that money?
Who is inheriting that?
Is that going to make its way out in the rest of the book? Is that a bit of foreshadowing from Kay Freeland?
Oh,
I've
K.Free.
Surname on here before, but no one's listening. It's fine. If your money all disappears, blame me. Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, drama.
And we got to take a turn about the room.
Oh, yes, I'm very excited about that.
Peak lockdown meme vibes.
I was at a wedding last week, and one of our uncles was like to his wife, do you want to take a turn about the gardens with me? And I was like,
That's amazing!
I know, it made me really happy.
Wow.
You can guess who that is in your head, and I'll tell you later.
Thank you.
Yeah. I can reveal your information on the But yeah, I like this new friend though, Miss Morland.
Miss Thorpe.
Miss Thorpe.
Heroine.
Sorry. I'm getting there. I'm really glad we got this podcast, or else it would not be straight in my head.
Yeah, that is why I'm here. To explain
To keep it in my head. Can you believe I have an English degree?
Despite the fact that I'm the one who can't follow a plot.
I don't remember names. I'm really rubbish with names. Like, even in my favourite books, I'm still like, who's that woman in the Far From the Man in Crowd?
What's Eponine's first name?
She doesn't have one.
No,
her name's Eponine Thénardier.
I messed up.
Welcome to the Les Mis podcast.
Ayo, we like Les Mis.
Grantaire? R. It's R something.
Honduras?
Yeah, we don't know Honduras's.
Gavroche? He's not even got a name.
No,
I
he's
just
just
go around
called
calling people
street
street urchin.
It's very sad.
Okay, I need to comment. This is back to Northanger.
Yeah.
Sorry, France.
Tangent.
Like, the, things that she discussed, these are... How you get to know someone, you just trust dresses and balls and flirtations and, quizzes.
Yeah, I was going to ask. What's a
It's
quiz?
got a note.
Oh.
Can you look at 21?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I was confused by that. A quiz denotes an odd-looking person to be commented on and ridiculed.
Ah!
A quiz! Oh, it's a real quiz.
Please do we also bring quiz back?
I'm much happier to say that in the modern society than queer.
Yes.
So...
How did you describe Tilney the other day? Like a queer,
half-witted man. He self-described as that.
Self-described. But now I'm going to start talking to people.
But do you remember, for the listeners who don't exist, who don't know this, we're cousins, and our mutual grandmother used to say, I don't mind all this LGBT stuff, but I just really sad that she didn't like that the word gay didn't mean happy, but also she was like, back in my day, queer meant something completely different. And I feel like I don't want to bring it back. I'm not agreeing with her, but quiz, I'm on board.
I was about to say
a
you're
real
a quiz, but then I was like, that's really rude.
But I kind of know.
We know some quizzes.
Oh, we do. We do know some quizzes.
Pregnant pause.
Wow. If Pete ever listens to this, we're going to get so rebuked. Anyway. Exciting times.
So great. So good.
Oh,
and
man.
I really loved how her sisters Isabella's sisters were described. They're like, well, they hang out with her and pretend to be her, so they pretend to be as pretty as she is.
Oh yeah. That's
Also,
like
what
what
is it
I
with
did.
Jane Austen making her oldest daughters the prettiest ones?
It's because the eldest child is always the prettiest.
Shut up.
Look, the eldest.
I'm also the eldest
You're
daughter,
older
to be fair.
than me.
And don't
So I
you
spent
forget
a lot of time in my childhood pretending to be you. Do you remember that time I got into scarves because you looked good in scarves?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not into scarves anymore. I got over myself.
Neither am I really, but I own a lot.
Yeah, we both do. I was big scarf fan because I thought you were looking really good in your scarf.
Thanks.
I know.
I feel like scarves are out of fashion though as well.
Yes.
There was a time in our childhood
mid 2000s
where everyone needed a good scarf collection.
Yeah, the fat face scarves. I had a lot of those.
I actually have about 4 elephant scarves in my cupboard right now.
Of course you do.
But that's
But
the elephant thing rather than the scarf thing.
Yeah, but I think that is a thing people do when they have a really socialite older sister.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna pretend to be you.
I think probably because neither of us have well, you're the oldest and I have brothers.
Yeah, that's true. Although Mum did it to her eldest brother. My mother did it to her eldest brother. Yeah, our mutual mother's eldest brother. She idolised him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, I look forward to hearing more from this. I can get this. More.
No.
No,
Yes.
that's the other guy. Wait, I can get this.
Thorpe, like Thorpe Park.
You don't remember that? Thorpe Park. I'm so bad at this. I'm going to imagine that Mrs. Thorpe's husband died at Thorpe Park.
I am quite concerned, however, and I think we do need to address this, that Mr Tilney did not turn up in the pub.
Yes, we haven't addressed that. Where is Mr. Tilney?
Where is Mr Tilney? Not at the pump room.
Well, he
That's
might
where
be
he's
off doing something more exciting.
not. No, not sure he's allowed to do that.
But I have a suspicion we might not have heard the last of him.
You don't think we've heard the end of Mr Tilney?
I don't think you introduced the one in the 3rd chapter, only to never mention them again.
On chapter 3 of 31.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it remains to be seen.
Oh.
Man, we'll see what happens in chapter V.
Yeah, it's a Katie chapter. She doesn't know how Roman numerals work.
Yeah.
Or how to say universally acknowledged. Which is why Liv has to introduce the podcast every week.
It's true. She hasn't got it down.
I can't say it.
But this is from the woman that can't spell tongue or...
Solid.
Solid. Solid! You joking me?
It's hard.
What's the mnemonic for solid?
Sausages on lentils, I'll die.
Not in a sentence that makes sense.
It was a fair description of my food preferences when I was the age when I made it up.
Yeah.
I'm over myself a bit more now. You were pleased to know.
Well, here at tangentialpodcast.com, we hope you enjoyed this episode. A peculiarly rambly episode. But luckily for you, if you skipped over this bit because it went weird, it was a very short chapter, so I don't think you've missed out on any key analysis points. And we'll see.
We've not brought a lot to the Jane Austen discourse tonight.
We've not. But we have brought what we promised our listeners, which is excitable.
Excitable audiobook podcast we nailed.
Well, good day to you.
Bye.